Hey everyone, I'm Will Carr. This is the Will Carr Speaks podcast. It's great to be here today. I've got a super fun guest I'm excited to talk to today. An old friend I haven't seen in a while, Kyle Turley.
Been a while.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Good. Living. We're here, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee, Nashville. You made it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, here I am, man. Well, give me a good excuse to come to Nashville and yeah.
Everybody's looking for one.
That's for sure. Well, let's get into it. I got a few things I want to talk to you about here today. First, let's just kind of get into your background as an athlete, as someone that played very high level football in college, and then also played in the NFL. Just kind of get into what were some of your favorite things you remember from your playing days?
Golly, geez. I mean, I was a late bloomer in football. I was a wrestler. I started wrestling in 7th grade, all through high school, summers, camps, this, that, and the other. And then I decided to play football my senior year of high school. And my coaches knew exactly where to put me on defense, tell me go get the football and try to hurt people. So
Yeah.
it was real simple for me. And then it was, 15 sacks later, I had every school in the country recruited me and a letter from every college in the country. And unfortunately, I didn't get my academics in order. And then I decided to, choose one of the state schools I was still had an offer at. Right? So I chose San Diego State.
Yeah, that's a great place to go, man.
Yeah. And then went to the NFL. It worked out for me.
Yeah. And how many years did you play in the NFL?
Technically 9 is what they gave me. I was in there 98 to 07, which is a 10-year span, but I had a little hiccup in the middle with a bad back injury. I was out of football for a year and made it back. I made it to the NFL. I like to say I made it to the NFL twice. And, at 2 different positions. I came back as a tight end, and then they switched me back to offensive line because a guy got hurt, and they asked if I could help him in emergency. And then I was, of course, back to playing what I did best and what I'm really good at. And that's the offensive line position.
Yeah, well, I just want to backtrack real quick because this is interesting to me. I didn't know this about you. You didn't play football until you were a senior in high school?
Yeah, it escaped me. I always wanted to play football. Like I literally have a picture when I was 8 or 9 years old in a football stance, in a Rams helmet, with pads and everything. I literally got this stuff for Christmas. I would dress up like a football player and run into trees and try to tackle stuff on the farm I lived on in Washington State by myself. Because there was nobody around.
Yeah.
I lived on a small farming town, There was no football. There was no tackle football for kids. There was not enough people. And so it escaped me. And then when I moved to Southern California, parents got divorced. I went and started skateboarding and surfing and snowboarding. And I was like, bye. I'm not...
Typical Southern Cali kid.
I'm not giving up my summers for football camp.
Yeah.
Forget you. And then my senior year rolled around, and I felt I was big enough and strong enough to go give it a shot. I was a really good wrestler, and I just needed to get in the weight room, and that's what happened. My coach had a plan for me from day one. They just kept hounding me every year, and then my senior year, I was like, well, it's my junior year, and I decided I want to play football. They said you have to be in the weight room program in the spring to play in the fall, otherwise you couldn't play. Yeah. And that was the coach's rule. So that's what happened.
Yeah, you feel like you had good coaches growing up, going through college, and
man, I had the best coaches you could possibly have. If you put any kid with talent with the coaches that I had from high school, from my wrestling coaches to my football coaches to college, to the NFL. Well, sometimes it's funny when you get to the big leagues.
Yeah,
like the quality of coach seems to drop off sometimes.
Well, it's a whole different mentality of coaching at that level. Like it's a very different goal that those coaches have in mind at the professional level that they do at the college level or even the high school level.
It's cutthroat.
Yeah, definitely.
Their job's on the block every day, so I get it. But if you put any kid with the coaches I had, they're going to make it. Yeah. If they have the ability, we're blessed with this size and the athletic ability, all these things, so we're checking all the boxes, but there's coaches that know those little things matter. Yeah. And they instilled those in me from day one, and it just rang true every step of the way.
Yeah. And when you say your coaches were great coaches, I think you mean that, yes, they taught you the game of football very well, but I think you probably also mean they helped coach you in life and helped guide you and to be the person that you were. Kind of, how important do you think coaching is from that standpoint?
Paramount, to have a coach that has a vested interest in you as a person and growing as a person versus just athletics is the pivotal thing, I think, in an athlete that has the opportunity to make it. It's those coaches that can instill in that belief system,
Yeah.
I mean, that was my wrestling coach's 3 Ds, dedication, determination, desire. It was just ingrained in my brain. And he went as far as to tell us, write it on everything. Put it in sticky notes. Put it in your mom's purse. Put it in your drawer. Put it in your closet. Put it on your mirror when you wake up in the morning so that it continues to just be burned into your brain that you can accomplish anything with dedication, determination, desire. Mm-hmm. So when I did that and then I was able to see it happen, right? Because I put it to work. Let's see if it can happen. It did happen.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that and apply that to the rest of life, and those are the coaches that make the most impact.
100%. Yeah. And because obviously dedication, tell me that again, dedication, determination, desire. Yeah. So obviously that impacted you to get through your college career and to go and play in the NFL. How would you say that even those belief systems transitioned for you into your post-NFL career, into entrepreneurship and the business projects and endeavors that you do now?
Sure. Yeah. It was, again, those types of coaches that can not just bring out the best of your athleticism, but bring out the best of you as a person. Those things then transcend into the real world. Those are the coaches, and they always love to tell you, wait till you get to the real world. And I didn't pay attention to that enough, to understand how hard this place is. Right? Sports is easy. We got the talent. We can go do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Give me the opportunity.
Yeah.
Bam, going. It's like getting in your car and driving down the street. On this world, you need to have those 3 Ds more than ever on everything, from relationships to parenting to school to jobs. Everything requires such an unbelievable dedication, determination, desire, and it applies on so many other levels than sports was.
Yeah.
So the coach that can bring that out of you, it then transcends into life. I've done it in music. I came to Nashville, and became a country music star. I toured the country.
Yeah, tell me a little bit. I was going to ask you about your music career. Yeah. I obviously focused on sports and things, but I wanted to hear. Tell me, because you're a very talented guitarist, right? Do you sing?
I'm not a talented guitarist. I
what do you rhythm. Tell me? Okay, well, I think you're being humble.
Yeah, I'm a pretty good guitar player, but I'm not a ripper. I can't even tell you what chords I'm playing. So, but I do a good job, and I play drums, I play keys, I play low bass. Because again, this is all from sports. Being able to have a coach tell you, you can make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
If I can accomplish that, I can play guitar. Let me pick that up and learn how to put my fingers on some strings.
Yeah. Well, let's get into business some. So you have a CBD brand, a cannabis business,
multiple,
and multiple things. You just showed me some pictures of a project that you're launching right now, a new THC drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk to me about how you got started in the as a cannabis entrepreneur and how you got into those business.
Yeah, sure. It's a long road, right? We've been at this a while. You and I have been at these conventions for years trying to hawk our brands and build these brands up in this space. We've had this experience where, using these things that grow from the ground that are natural, they can really help us more than all of these synthetics that everybody's been giving to us as athletes. We're the guinea pigs for the pharmaceutical industries.
Yeah.
And, I've had this personal experience where cannabis saved my life. So
why
is that? Why is that, right? It's an incredible thing to be able to say and then stand on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Not one pharmaceutical. I have not taken one pill, not painkillers, no anti-inflammatories, no aspirins, no leaves. Okay. And to understand that ability that a plant could have, right? So that was really important to me to try to expose that. And then, this industry is 6, 7, whatever, with the kids. Any day, right? It's just a floating thing. So you have to try to really create something that resonates with people.
Yeah.
So I tried to really niche it towards sports and recovery and wellness to get people to understand that, cannabis isn't this thing that they think it is, right?
Yeah.
That they're hearing about, right? This is something that should be daily use for every person, because we have this now that we understand an endogenous cannabinoid system, right? How does our bodies work? If we're an athlete and we're trying to achieve greatness, I put it back towards, things. I grew up in the 80s. So, it's, we're not Doc here, right? We can't just throw a bunch of trash in our DeLorean and expect to get to the right timeline, right?
Why not?
I wish we could, please make McDonald's good for us. But they don't, right?
Yeah.
So, we're out here. And so in trying to get these brands to where they can be as far as, acceptable and what we're trying to achieve here, as far as our message goes, this has been a pursuit. This is a life.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stigma to tear down there. I mean, tell me about. You said cannabis saved your life. You talked earlier about a back injury that you had. I assume it's much more than just a back injury that you mean when you say something as profound as cannabis saved my life. Tell me that story. What is that? When you say that, what do you mean? How did cannabis save your life?
Sure. Yeah, it's a true experience where. When you're addicted to pharmaceuticals, and
so you had an issue with pain pills.
Yeah, I played football in the era of pharmaceuticals.
Right. Okay.
So we all the scandals of literally candy jars in the training room of painkillers that are kill people. You can literally kill people. These were in sequence and frequencies that people shouldn't be taking, and so that. Post-career, all the injuries, backs, hips, shoulders, ankles, knees. I've had 7 surgeries and need new thing. I need a new hip. I need new knees. I've played 10 screws in my right ankle, collapsed lower spine, bone on bone, and took 42 bone chips out of my left shoulder. 4 were the size of 22 bullets, just grinding around for years, playing this game. Yeah. And now, you have to deal with that aftermath. So how do you deal with that, right? And so when you're getting pilled out, there's a lot of side effects that come with those meds. And unfortunately, just down the street from where we're sitting, I found myself in a hospital having a seizure, being held down by 4 nurses in an MRI machine.
Wow. Because
this brain thing from football is a real thing. And these synthetics are to not be applied. And from my experience, and then what cannabis was able to do to pull me out of that hole, that I was sucked down into by these pharmaceutical companies that said they could fix these problems. Not at all. Made everything so much worse. And, having these types of incidents happen where you're hospitalized, you think you're going to die. And maybe you did. Like there was times when, I would be unconscious from this. And people would be like, I couldn't find a pulse. So you're living in both worlds here. And you're trying to understand why you're still here even, because you're trying to live with this situation that was kind of placed upon you by a bunch of people that we now know were complicit in this misinformation.
Right.
And then this happened to me where I found out I could fix it.
Yeah.
I could deal with this. Yeah. And not only that, it is, again, you can literally, I could say it saved my life. And there's only, it's God and what he put in the ground, that
absolutely.
That's what he said to me. I prayed for it. When you're at the bottom and you're being held down, and you can't breathe. You know what I mean? I grew up surfing. We talk about that, and you're going to do anything you can to get a breath, right? Because you want to fight, you want to get up, and you want to get out, and you want to breathe. That's our natural, desire. So how can you do that when you feel like you're just anchored, right? And that's what those pharmaceuticals did. As soon as I found the right strains of cannabis, worked out all the different things with the indica, sativas, and hybrids, and found out where I balance out, where it works for me on a level that is, people ask me all the time, I'm interviews and big news, like, you used it today? Are you high right now? And I'm like, man, I guess, I don't know. I just used it before I came here. Yeah. So I guess you could say so. But what has that done for me? But be able to allow me to sit here and articulate this conversation with you and make you understand why.
Yeah. Well, obviously you've gotten you're very passionate about cannabis, very passionate about hemp and how it's helped you. And recently I saw you up in Washington D.C. on Capitol Hill, and you were there protesting this continuing resolution that was just passed, that for some reason there was language put in that really drastically hurt the hemp industry. And we saw Rand Paul from Kentucky very much trying to get this language removed. Obviously, everyone still passed it through. Can you talk about that a little? Because, I mean, first off, why would something like that even be added to this CR where we just needed to be able to get our government reopened?
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about why you were there, being active, vocal about how that had been added into to the continuing resolution bill.
Yeah, I mean, as athletes, or business owners and members of the community, I feel it's important that you not only, if you're in cannabis, that you don't just hide behind this, right? That I'm here to make money. You got all these owners of businesses, and half of them don't even claim that they're even in this industry. And that's unfortunately provided this stigma out here that this is all about potheads and listen. And as an athlete, having had this experience, I knew that I needed to get out and use my voice. And so I've done so in creating brands, try to shape conversations. Everybody's got something, and most people are just trying to get people high. But now let's understand why they have a patent on this for neuroprotection. Right. And let's create a brand called Neuro Armor, right? And then have Under Armour come and take it from you because they're a bunch of bastards. And then you have
is
to
that
be
real?
That's real.
That happened to you?
Yeah. Just like these other people that this is happening to with other brands, and you hear about Under Armour every now and then going after people. Except for Kobe Bryant, he was the one guy to get away with it. And so we pivoted Neuro XPF because we want to continue to expose people to the opportunity of this as a neuroprotectant. I literally woke a guy up out of a coma using CBD drops.
Yeah.
This was a pro boxer, got knocked out in a professional fight on ESPN, and I sent CBD overnight to his cousin who put it under his tongue after he had 3 brain surgeries, and they told the family he's going to die. And he said, I felt it in my pocket. Everybody left the room. And I decided to look around. Nobody was in there. And I put the drops under his tongue like you told me, Kyle. He woke up in 30 minutes. They told the whole family to say goodbye. He's dead.
Wow.
And he's gone on to have study abroad, got degrees now. He's got his own boxing gym in Southern California, where I'm from. Crazy story. Daniel Franco.
Yeah.
And, from those experiences to that, I'm driven to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for what I know is this plant. Opportunity to help our country, right? Because this is not just let's save some athletes from suicide or some soldiers or this. No, this has so many more applications to save our country. We have a mental health crisis fixed. I'm sorry, you want to fix the mental health crisis? If you're a politician out there and you are not arguing for full federal legalization of cannabis after having experienced all of the different things that people are experiencing, it's like. They always want to go, well, I had one gummy here and then it was bad the next time I did it. Okay, but that's fine. It's curing this kid's cancer.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? This person's done with seizures, Parkinson's, gone. All these resolutions that are happening, this is universal health care. We're fighting over insurance companies and blah, blah, blah. Give people the opportunity at these plant-based solutions, from cannabis to mushrooms to ibogaine to everything else, and let us heal and get back to making positive choices in our life. Instead, we want a new pharmaceutical on the TV every day. And what are these doing to people? We're seeing it on TV, and I know personally from where my brain was, of where it is. And so when I'm sitting at home and going, they're going to crush the whole industry with this. And I'm watching Rand Paul, who I've been paying attention to because I'm passionate about this, and know that he has an entire bill ready for this called the Hemp Act, which will raise the D9 to 1%, have nothing to do with the THC, put monitors and governors on amounts in packages for edibles and things like that, so we don't have kids just flying off the handle from eating a gummy, or anybody else for that matter.
Right.
and that it unleashes the full potential of this industry. What is the full potential? Everybody's related this to just this, oh, you want to get high. No, this is textiles, this is fuel, this is materials, so many things can 100%. Be provided by this that resolve situations that we're actually having problems with right now.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much that can be said for the hemp industry in general. I mean, we talk a lot about how it can benefit people's health. You talked about as a neuroprotectant, our endocannabinoid system, how it can help regulate our nervous system. But I think one of the coolest applications of hemp in general is the textiles. It is the building materials. The issue that we have is the infrastructure ever going to be built out? I mean, one, we would have to grow so much industrial hemp. We would have to start having the manufacturing facilities to really process that industrial hemp, put it into building products. But I mean, we've seen it at the shows. You can make hempcrete that is so much stronger. It's it won't catch fire. It's antimicrobial. It repels insects. Like there's so,
isn't that crazy?
Mold won't grow on it.
Yeah.
It's stronger than concrete.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that we can actually use hemp for. And unfortunately, I do think that is one of the things of why it gets so villainized.
Yeah, you have to.
The pharmaceutical industry doesn't want it to become big because it would take away their customers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a large industrial industry through construction and construction materials that would be very much threatened
Big
by
time.
Industrial hemp becoming a large-scale thing like it could.
And fuel. I mean, if we're trying to really advance this conversation, we're out here trying to continually invent new engines. And the diesel engine, since its inception, could run on vegetable oils and hemp oils.
Yeah.
And these things are fuels. You've had BioWillie out here. Willie Nelson had a fuel that a company tried to, and they literally put it at gas stations, there's so many advancements overseas that have happened with this for fuel purpose.
Yeah.
That could change everything we have here. And you're right. That's what they don't want, right? They don't want to change all of what they have been able to get for them, right?
Right.
And that's why the people need to wake up. I'm going to D.C. to argue for the people that understand this. That why is this football guy standing out in front of the White House acting like he's going to throw his helmet over? What's going on? What is Kyle Turley? Why does this guy keep coming out of nowhere? What's he doing?
I'm just picturing you chucking a helmet over the fence now.
Oh, it's so close. It was so close. I wanted to so bad. I was just like, what else can we do? What else could I possibly do? These people literally ripped a helmet off and threw it in the congressional meeting by doing this. You know what I mean? They're ripping my quarterback's head off. Mitch McConnell comes over here with the alcohol lobbies and provides hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this whole thing done and pushed into this bill. He should be arrested. He should be arrested. Like Rand Paul said, there's rules against this.
Yeah.
And he slipped something in there that, in my opinion, should have hung it up. How do you get rid of 400,000 jobs?
Yeah.
By telling people, we're going back to work. Who's going back to work? You guys? Because let me tell you what happened when I went there. Well, I drove 10 hours to get there. And because I thought the government's back open. Not one of them was in their office. And they were all said to be gone. Wow. They came in overnight, voted this thing underneath the people, and left D.C. and went home. They're sitting at home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. There's a few people up there that are doing stuff, Trump was up there, and Nancy McCray, whatever, and these other people that are up here trying to make noise about this. Rand Paul, what is wrong with you? And these other people, they're just sitting back going, oh, thanks for this nice little Christmas bonus coming up here from whoever benefited from that. Because there's people that benefited immensely from that announcement alone.
Right.
That need to be arrested.
Yeah.
You talk about treason. This is treason because this country was founded upon hemp. It was mandated to grow. This was the number one medication prescribed in America up until 1934 was cannabis oil. Mm-hmm. And now a topical that your grandma has is going to get her arrested. She's a felon.
Yeah.
Because of Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, it sounds to me like this bill that was passed, it obviously it harmed and really set back the hemp industry. But it seems to me like it's almost kind of pushed the industry itself as a whole kind of back into the more marijuana cannabis side at the state level. Is that an accurate assessment that I'm making?
Yes. Yeah, 100% accurate. But what people don't understand is that this bill doesn't set it back. The standard of testing that they put in this bill is a total THC count, okay, at such a low level that not one plant is going to be able to grow. You can't grow the plant and test it at all, even down to the seed. This bill covers seed. It's so insane that literally if this pushes through, you're going to go to jail again for having a joint in your car, for a long time. And if you had they repealed personal use stuff with this thing. You can't have any even personal use on you right now. A cop, if he wants to flex on you right now, on this federal law right now, and they're going after, that's what they do, They're using this because they know that the guys are getting away from all the other things, okay? And so they're not getting in trouble for all the other stuff. How can they get these guys and put them in jail, right? Yeah. It's always weed. It's always marijuana that they can put something on somebody and keep them for a little while, right?
Right.
And now with this thing, because there was laws in place that were, personal possession, this, that, and the other. It's not a felony anymore. We're letting people out of prisons. This thing goes through, you're going to fill up the prisons, okay? Literally, they're going to fill up all over again. And there's something to say for that because there's stories out there where prisons are suing states right now, these private entities that are prisons that are not being populated. And they're suing the states because the state promised them
a certain amount of inmates.
In states like California. And why aren't we having all these inmates? What's the number one thing they've been locking people up for?
Cannabis.
The dumbest thing ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's so many real things where if they truly want to detract away from the Epstein files, you could go start arresting all these politicians right now on this.
Yeah.
Because there's some serious corruption.
Man, well, as a cannabis and hemp entrepreneur, you have multiple brands. Obviously you're an activist and you speak very passionately about this.
I can't help it.
And you
tired,
care,
dude. I just want to chill. Can't we just relax, bro?
You care.
Can I enjoy retirement? Why do I have to keep coming out here and slinging helmets?
Yeah. Well, it's because you're passionate, man. I think passionate people are never gonna just retire and chill. I know how that feels. I don't think we'll ever get to a point where there'll always be the next thing that you want to pursue. And that's part of the athlete that's in us too, man. We don't just want to sit back. We want to go and achieve. We want to go and have challenges. We want to go and do things that are hard to be able to accomplish. Even if we fail, at least we tried.
Exactly.
We put ourselves out there and tried to make something happen. So as an entrepreneur that's in this space, hemp and cannabis, how are you changing your approach? Are you pulling back on? Are you going to be pulling back on your hemp businesses and focusing more on the marijuana THC side?
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Luckily I understand this industry, so I put a foot in both courts, and I got marijuana licensing in California. I helped build and launch brands in about 7 different states. I have great relationships with MSOs and all these different people that are out here. They appreciate what I do for the industry. I don't ride on, I'm going to hold on to this marijuana here, or it's all hemp. No, man, we need everybody to come together. That's why I'm so passionate about the Hemp Act, because it legalizes cannabis, period.
Right.
The marijuana industry, it's a threat, right? Because we fought so hard for licensing.
Yeah.
We've had to suffer and fight. I've spoken at every city council in Southern California. I've been thrown out of 2. It's a lot of work to get these licenses and have these things open up. But the hemp industry was allowed to operate. So we were trying to catch that up. And then this whole thing happened where people started figuring out the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill in 2018 legalized cannabis, basically. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. And people didn't understand that. And so then it created a conflict the industry started competing and combating each other because some people were starting to figure this out, and they started seeing THCA flower out there. It's cannabis, period. It's not, there's nothing different about it. It's certain strains, test compliant. And within the Farm Bill, it was Delta 9 is the only cannabinoid tested, and that was at 0.34%. Anything at that or below it, hemp. Anything above that, 0.34%, marijuana. Over half the strains grown to full potential of marijuana are hemp compliant. Mm-hmm. And the growers started figuring this out. That's why the black market went out of nowhere, it just disappeared. And the hemp industry exploded.
Right.
Because people started to understand they could put this paperwork to this and be protected under federal law. Now, federal law gone, okay, to protect anybody from anything. So even the federal laws on hemp were protecting the marijuana industry as far as people that wanted to consume. Because this is where it hurts people the most in any of this, is always the patients.
Yeah.
And so that's my passion, is behind people that are using this as the true medicine that it is, right?
Right.
And so understanding the marijuana industry, it's important that we get that fixed because we're getting crushed, okay? California killing us. Gavin Newsom, everybody kills us.
Yeah, so as we were getting into it, so with everything going on in the hemp bill, it sounds like pulling away from the hemp industry and really just focusing on cannabis and how's that, affecting you as an entrepreneur and the way that you're moving forward in business.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's having to adjust in any business is difficult, right? But when you have your whole business, there's a threat of it getting just hammered down and exhausted, completely eliminated is, where you really have to know and understand your industry. I think every industry has to deal with this, right? They do fluxes of markets. This goes up, that comes down. People in the investment world, right? You got to have an index fund scenario where if something falls, something's got to rise, right? Because you got to wait till things sort themselves out. And right now with the hemp conversation and what they've done with the CRs in this new bill are insane, just beyond insane. This is reefer madness times 10. Okay, 2025. Here we are. It's like, how do we get here? Yeah. But as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to pivot. All right, and so the hemp industry, we have to put a hold on it right now. We have to go with the things that we're working on to try and make as much money as we can and see what happens, right? But I've put a foot in both arenas. I have marijuana licensing. I have a micro license. It holds every license in California. Personally, I'm a big investor in that one. And we've been able to work in that industry, push brands out, make products for brands, be kind of in every facet of the industry, license holder. It's what I intended because I knew you're going to need every license to be able to figure out how to make money in this industry, right? And that's the difficult part. All of these marijuana regulations are so overreaching. California, how are we where we are with weed in California? Gavin Newsom should be fired strictly upon those grounds alone. If you can't win in weed in California, you can't be the governor of California, right? That's like being the prince of Saudi Arabia and you screwed up oil. You screwed up oil. You're just a horrible, what do you think is going to happen? He's going to chop his head off in the streets. So, we have to be able to pivot in the industry, in the cannabis industry. You really got to be on your toes.
Yeah.
Right? In athletics, that's what they tell us, right? Make sure you're on the balls of your feet because that ball's going to go this way or that way. And the cannabis conversation, there's no business like this business when it comes to that stuff.
Well, and I'd really say from an athletic standpoint, the way this feels to me is in athletics, high school, college, I don't know, I don't think in most professional sports anymore, but THC is obviously a banned substance. The hemp bills allowed us to use the more medicinal hemp, or however the best way to put that is, to be able to use cannabinoids as an athlete for recovery, for pain management, that you can't necessarily access through the more marijuana THC side because of banned substances in sports. And so, do you feel like, the way that this bill that passed through the CR and the way they're banning the hemp, really it's making it to where it's almost inaccessible to athletes at this point who are subject to drug tests and aren't allowed to use. the debate can be had whether or not they should be able to use THC or not. But the fact is, they should definitely be able to use CBD from hemp.
Sure, everybody should.
Right.
I mean, you got the Oval Office, President Trump and his team pushing out all the benefits of CBD now. Right. There's a whole commercial rollout of how it's going to help all these old people. CBD is so amazing. And then this hemp bill comes along and like it's really insane to me. You would think that education would have eclipsed this by now, but unfortunately we're still here, right? And we're having to battle against all these things constantly in this industry, until they completely deschedule this thing, because it's not a Schedule I drug, right? That's the difference when it comes to marijuana. It's a Schedule I drug. And a Schedule I drug cannot be tested on humans, right? Why not allow that to happen? Okay, because you really need to understand what is the number one system in your body. Like that's the thing that baffles me the most is that the medical community, the doctors, the scientists, these people are just seeming to be, except for a few really outlaws, it seems, like Bonnie Goldstein and Sue Sisley, all these people, Raphael Mechoulam, I got to meet Raphael Mechoulam. I said, what are we doing? He's like, I don't know. This guy has been funded for 50 years by the National Institute of Health, over in Israel. And then on the top of that, why are American presidents get to go over to Israel and cure their cancer? Jimmy Carter. You can look this up. Jimmy Carter quoted says, I cured my cancer. Where did he do that? Israel. Like, what? Why are we exposing that here? Yeah. How are we behind? How are we giving all this money to all these places for research? And we're not doing that research here. Mm-hmm. Right? It's all around the world that we're using these communities to do our research. And everybody has understood this in America when it comes to cannabis, right? And everybody's been risking. And why do we have to do that? When the number one regulatory system is the endogenous cannabinoid system. Yeah. It's like taking your car to the mechanic and they says, I don't want to plug the computer in. Let's not plug the computer in. I know what I'm doing here. That's how our doctors are. Yeah. That's our medical community. Right. It's really backwards. And so until we fix this system, I don't know how to answer your question where we got off on that, but it's beyond baffling to where, the THC conversation isn't more forefront to understanding which THC works for you. Right. Because you have a floating level of THC in your system, and people don't understand this. And if they drop drug testing to 10 nanograms, because the legal limit for a cop, fireman, truck driver, any of these jobs where you got to pass a drug test, 15 nanograms, okay? Why would you allow a police officer, if you're arresting people for levels of intoxication when it comes to drugs or alcohol, why are you giving your cops 15 nanograms of THC allowance? Why are you? Because they could be taking CBD products in all these, but why is that? This has gone on forever. They put these levels of governance on this decades ago, 15 nanograms. Why? Because you carry a floating level of THC in your system of around 10 nanograms of THC. Yeah. And if they drop it down to that, everybody in the world tests positive for marijuana. How is that possible? Judges, lawyers, cops, presidents, congressmen, senators, everybody will test positive for marijuana if you drop it down. Why? And we don't know that, but we know that. You and I, who monkeyed around in some sports with a couple of balls out there. Yeah. Right? How silly is that? Right. That's insane, bro. The medical community needs to come together and explain this to people that THC needs to be in college sports, needs to be in the NFL, needs to be at the youth level. Let's understand this and get to that, because the entourage effect, as we know it, is real. Right. Yeah. Is real. It's a supercharging of the already beneficial aspects of CBD or whatever, cannabinoid you want to add. You combo those two with THC and you have literal miracles occurring in medical science that can't be explained. Why? Because we're not exposing this is within us, and this helps us, speaks to us. Yeah. That's what has to happen.
So what do you think the path moving forward is? How do we remedy, and that's a loaded question right now, man, because honestly, you can go one of two directions. You can either say, it feels really dark. It feels really grim. Like, how is there really a path forward if we're having bills like this passed from the federal level? And you can kind of on the flip side of that go from this really hopium standpoint of, this is what I would like to see. I would like to see these things happen. I would like to see the world progress in this way. Yeah. But I mean, really, what do you think is a realistic approach as someone that has businesses on both the hemp side and the marijuana side? How, do you feel like the hemp side really is, I don't want to say gonna die, but no. you don't feel that?
No, it's not gonna die. I mean, it's already way too far down the tracks, right? That this has happened, because there's still importation clauses that are available. That's how this whole thing got started. They didn't let this out of the bag. It was discovered by some really smart people. What is it? GH Sciences or something out of San Diego. General Hemp and these guys, Medical Marijuana Inc. They created they found the loophole. You can import this, and then give it to people, and they can take it as an imported supplement. Okay. And so again, and now we've gone down the line here to where we now have a $30 billion plus industry, over 400,000 American jobs that are being taxed, and so we have to figure this out, right? You can't just crush that type of an industry in America. I don't care what it is. All right, yeah. You've allowed it to happen. Everybody's hands are dirty, right? Nobody can do this and walk away, right? These politicians. You got John Boehner's the head of Canopy Growth. Yeah. Right? He's a Speaker of the House. You got all these other politicians that have their hands in cannabis industries right now that are keeping their mouths shut because they know that the opportunity is with hemp. And so what needs to happen, you asked, is the Rand Paul Hemp Act. Okay? Yeah. I don't know why people aren't screaming about this, because if you go to his website and you read this, a person who knows and understands this, this is full federal legalization. There will be no more marijuana, which is a made-up term anyways, that they created to demonize this and turn it into a racist thing to make everybody go crazy and hate this because it's about these people and these degenerates. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that everybody needs this in their system, and we need to understand this at the highest levels. I mean, I cured my neuropathy, can walk again, go to the gym again, train again, because I cured it. It's gone. Yeah. I couldn't get out of bed without feeling like I was walking on glass. Gone. Rick Simpson oil, highest concentrated THC you could possibly get, and you got to work your way up to that when you get to those levels. Yeah. And if you do it, you stick to the process, as he says, it cure any disease. Okay, and it has done that for me, and I've turned that on to multiple people from young to old, curing cancers. Skin cancer, cure for skin cancer. Little MCT with CBD oil, add a little Rick Simpson oil of that, put it on one of them closed Band-Aids that covers the whole thing, put it on your skin cancer. Gone in 3 to 4 days, as if it was never there. Yeah. This is real. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Rick Simpson oil, I saw you post something the other day, and this is going to kind of lead into another thing I want to discuss with you. But I saw you post something the other day about how Jesus was using different cannabis oils to help heal people, and it made me think of Rick Simpson oil in particular. Talk to me about that a little. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? I saw you make a post about it.
Yeah, so. No, I mean, again, cannabis saved my life. Why is that? I was praying for an answer, right? And when you get to the bottom and you're praying, you're listening to God like nobody's listening to God, right? You're listening. And some people could say, oh, that's when the devil comes to you. No, this saved my life. It's saved so many other lives since then. And that things I've been able to do are miracles with this, to know what Jesus was talking about. There's ancient art in cathedrals over in Europe that depict Jesus, with cannabis leaves to other plants and herbs and things and oils. We have these things, right? I mean, the Bible talks about all this stuff, using these consecrated oils, right? Yeah. They brought this to the frankincense and the myrrh and all these other things, right? The cannabis oil, cannabosum as it was called. These things are in these scriptural references and all the historical findings from all the tablets to the Egyptian hieroglyphs that depict above the head, the plant, right? The plant. Yeah. This is in historical documentation, that this is something that can help benefit people. enlighten people, but what is the truth behind that is that it helps align you, right?
Right.
How helps? What is that? It's finding your Christ. So when you're talking about Jesus, what was Jesus's whole full mission? To get everybody to level up, to vibrate on a level that when they walk in a room, whereas he did with the Pharisees and all these other people, and go to the Badlands, go to Sodom and Gomorrah, walk around, and everybody sees them, and everybody goes, oh, I want that. Oh, I want to change. I can change if this guy's, and that seems to be what we're up against.
Yeah.
Because they don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
They want this matrix wants everybody to fall in line with this wave that's going to nowhere, to an end. Okay, it's going to crash on the beach. All right. Jesus said, "You can stand right where you are. You don't have to go anywhere. You can stand within the waters. They'll part for you." All this will happen if you become aligned with yourself and expose who you truly are.
Yeah.
Right. That's all that's happened in this history of our world. Right. A bunch of people that want to just get sucked into this wave and go with the flow, versus the guys that are out there waiting for the right one. Right.
Yeah.
I want that ride. I want to be able to feel God and feel whole and feel like, why am I here? Am I here to just be in a pool with all these tourists and floaties and wait for that big wave pool to make its wave and or are you out there with the sharks, with the whales, with the dolphins? I mean, growing up surfing, these analogies are so visible to me in my mind, and being in these scenarios where I felt so connected to God, to life, to the earth, to everything, and to know who I am, right? And you don't have that until you align yourself. And Jesus used this with all of his wisdom. He also used the wisdom that God put here on this earth to help heal people, whether that's the combination of his spit with the dirt to cure the blind man's eyes, right?
Yeah.
That mud, he knew that this mud in this area was really healing, right? And that if you could apply these certain things in such simple ways that we could get to this healing, and he was showing that to everybody, right? And miracles that people thought were miracles, and it's just align yourself.
Yeah.
These things speak to our bodies and do these things to us because they're trying to help us, not hurt us. And if we get to that and understand how, expose the fullness of this industry. Yeah. Come on. That's the fear. That's what they have against this, is that it is taking too many people, waking them up, and getting them to understand the power within us, the power within our lives and the things that we touch and the interactions we have with people, to the things that we grow and build and all that, right? And it has a resonance. And all this fake stuff, right? They can try to create all these materials. We're in 2025. What's the military doing? They're going to change. Apparently, all of their airports are going to be hempcrete, like you said. Okay. Wow. What are they finding with hemp materials? They're finding it. They don't have to peel off the fatigues from the soldiers getting burned in accidents and explosions like they've had to in the past with these synthetic materials. The hemp materials can blend right in with their skin, and it goes away, and it doesn't even leave a mark, is what I'm being told. That they're using this out in the field right now, right? See, the cops are coming.
They're coming. They're coming for us. Having too real of a conversation. Yeah. We got called in.
It's true, man.
Oh man. Yeah. But would you say then that cannabis is? Would it be safe for me to say that cannabis has brought you deeper and closer into your spiritual faith, or is it more so that you feel like your faith brought you to cannabis? Like what would you say, and how those two things relate to each other?
Yeah, again, it saved my life, and in the way it happened, it came from, again, me getting down on my knees and praying for my life, and that I needed a resolution here. This wasn't working, okay? Out of control, mind out of control, body failing, and this happened to me, right? So I have to, put it all together, and what it's done for me is reaffirmed my faith, what I already knew about who I was, and then made me understand all of these things out here that are being placed upon us as distractions. Okay? Yeah. And if people find it in sobriety, right, and they come to God and whatever their belief is when they get sober, a lot of people come to Jesus and whatever other gods, they become spiritual. right? And this plant has allowed me to tap into, it's like when you contemplate a suicide, like to now say with conviction, like, oh, like that was fabricated by everything else going on and these horrible chemicals they were giving me to resolve it. But all this stuff going on that I couldn't deal with, and now I deal with it and I can see it. And so it's enlightened me to a level of understanding and knowing that there is a true word of wisdom to be had. In the scriptures, it talks about it, to use these plants and herbs of the earth all in their seasons within prudence. Is that's the word. And if you want to change this conversation, that's what you have to do. You have to go search this and be the difference, right? Yeah. And not be some pothead sitting here smoking and even though I smoke all day, but it's not something that is putting me down, making me, this typical, stereotypical person.
Yeah.
I walk into rooms and nobody knows. People are baffled by it, that I can function on cannabis the way I use it. I mean, it's all day, every day, in every form. CBD, the Rick Simpson oils, every night, to sleep with a 10-year NFL body that played on the offensive line. Oh, yeah. God, waking up in the morning, sleeping at night, everything. You're just tossing and turning. I don't do that anymore. I sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
And I get up and I'm motivated to go to the gym and get my life back.
Yeah.
Why aren't we need to be encouraging that.
Totally.
So
absolutely.
And that goes into the whole Christ consciousness, right? And understanding your relationship to why you're here.
Yes.
Right? We're not just here to ride the wave pool wave. We're here to sit out here at, Rincon, Dana Point, Malibu on the biggest day, wait for the perfect wave, just like Laird Hamilton, and everybody had that ride and go through the pier.
Yeah.
Because you're so locked in.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. I think that when Jesus comes back, he's going to smack everybody around and be like, what are you doing with this? Like, I gave you this weed thing, I told you. How did it go this far?
Yeah. Well,
insane.
So many things, man. It's a balance, but it's understanding. It's understanding how things are meant to be used and not using things in a way that are detrimental, and using things how they're intended by God to be used to benefit you and to benefit society.
Yep. Amen.
And Kyle,
it brought me back to church. Yeah. It saved my life, and then in scenarios since then, divorce, all these other things where your life seems to want to crumble.
Right.
It reminds you of who you are, and it saved my life. It continues to save my life. I'm in church again. I'm leading things. I had such amazing experiences in life now because I'm me again.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to not be me.
Yeah.
This made me me again.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can, being crazy Kyle Turley, to expose that and be in their face. And if I have to be the last man standing, then hopefully the next world gets to understand it, a little bit better, and I'll be here to help that out.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, this has been awesome, man. I've loved having this conversation with you. I feel like we've really dived into some things that matter, some even current events, but really just diving into cannabis, what it means to use cannabis, how it, as a substance is something that can really be beneficial and help people, and to even talk about as entrepreneurs how we can dive into this from a business standpoint, and as athletes how we do these things and can use things like cannabis to help us with pain management or just clarity. But I think what really strikes home for me is how it has helped bring you back to your faith and just make you clear in what it means to be in alignment. Because I think if everyone could come to that conclusion, you talk about being yourself again,
right?
And whatever it takes for people to come to that point where you fall from grace and lose your way and be able to come back to that point where you love yourself and you love being you and you love the life that you get to live and you wake up every day excited for the opportunities that you have. Yeah. That is the goal for everyone, whether it be through cannabis or through any number of industries or activities that people can do. I just think the goal is for people to be able to have things in life that they're passionate about. And so
yes, sir.
This has been a really fun conversation for me to have with you, because you're obviously such a passionate person and very passionate about cannabis in general. And
I can't help it.
Yeah, crazy Kyle Turley, like you said.
Man. I'm gonna fight for it.
Before we wrap up, any crazy Kyle Turley stories you'd want to tell from back in the NFL days or something?
Jeez, NFL days,
man, just so I don't know.
Cannabis. So after
cannabis,
my first experience of making like a butter, right?
Okay.
I left the plant material in it. I didn't know, I was like, how do I strain this out? I couldn't. So I was like, screw it. Mixed it all up in a jar of peanut butter, and me and my buddy on the Rams, and we go to an away game, and I made these peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and so we're on the way back, and we're on the plane, and we ate them in the locker room right after the game. I like gave him his, and he's like, "Oh, these are horrible." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, but it's good. It's gonna be
Trust
good.
me,
dude. I put a lot in." By the time we landed back in St. Louis, I looked back at him, and he looked at me, and was like. And we were both like, "Oh no, how are we getting home?"
Before the days of Uber, like
totally, man. Yeah, we're just like white knuckling in the slow lane. That's the best part about this. It's like no matter how high you get, you're not a threat to the world at all.
That is true, man. You never hear about someone getting too high and getting in a bar fight, like it's just not that's not the case.
No, not at all. Even the car crashes and stuff. It's like, nah, you're gonna find the person.
You were going too slow
on the side. Like, I can't get in here. I can't. It was funny, man. There's some good stories, over the years playing NFL and then using cannabis and trying to maneuver around that. Man, it is a good time.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Kyle, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, brother.
Man.
Yes,
Thank you for having
you.
me in your home. And
great to be with you.
This was fun. We'll be in touch.
Always. Yes, sir.
Love you, brother.
Love you, too.
I'm Will Carr, and I'm here to fire you up.